Yo, how's it going, Bears fans? Welcome back to another episode of the Bear Down Podcast. I am your host, Chris, and today I am joined by my co-host, Jaylen.
What's up, guys?
So, we were supposed to be joined by Parth today. Unfortunately, he's undergone some technical difficulties, but he'll be back for the next episode, whenever that may be. Obviously, haven't recorded in a while. It's been probably since about the Jordan Howard trade since we last recorded. But we're back in time to talk about the draft. There's been a ton of stuff going on this week with the draft, specifically Robbie Gould. The Bears have the opportunity to trade for Robbie Gould. They have the opportunity to acquire him through trade. They would have to pay him the franchise tag or negotiate a new deal with him. We would have to trade a draft pick. We'll talk about that in another video, but comment down below in the description if you want the Bears to trade a draft pick for Robbie Gould, and if so, what round draft pick. But today, basically, we're going to be talking about just the third round in the NFL draft. And the Bears running back situation, we're going to make our picks for the number 87 pick, I believe it is, that the Bears own this year in the draft. And, we'll be seeing how it plays out. We might do a reaction on Friday, I think. Yeah, Friday's when they'll be drafting. Friday's when they'll be drafting in the third round. We might do a reaction to that. Probably not, honestly, because it's the third round and it's not the first round like last year with Roquan. But first off, Jaylen, before we get into actually making our picks, I want to talk about the running back position as Parth joins the call. Parth, we're talking about the running back position. Parth, you were one a couple days ago, or today actually, to say even though the Bears have met with 15 running back prospects, you still think there's a possibility that they don't draft a running back. So just personally, from your preference, and I'm sorry I'm throwing you on the spot, you just joined the call, but
you're good.
From what you've seen them do this offseason, obviously trading Jordan Howard and stuff like that, what do you want the Bears to do in this draft? Do you want them to draft a running back?
I mean, yeah, I love a running back, especially someone like Darrell Henderson from Memphis or like Devin Singletary or Miles Sanders. But if I trust Ryan Pace and if he believes that he likes our running back room with Cohen, Mike Davis, and Ryan Nall, which is someone he brought up in his presser today, which is something to keep in the back of your mind, I guess. If he believes in those three, then I guess I do too, because we don't get to see what goes on behind the scenes in Hallis Hall and stuff like that. Ryan Nall has been putting in work. He's someone that we've all loved since, I think, was it last year?
He really showed out in the preseason last year. Someone similar to Javon Wims, kind of just a late. I think Nall might have been an undrafted free agent, but someone who came in late and has really proven his worth on this team. Even though he was only on the practice squad, I still think he's going to be good one day.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see what happens in the draft.
Jaylen, I mean, not bringing up any names for now. Do you think the Bears should draft a running back?
Definitely. I don't think Tariq and Mike Davis will be. I definitely think they're capable, but I wouldn't depend on them to bring the production that Jordan and Tariq did. Mike Davis is definitely a decent running back. I think he's very underrated, but the type of scheme we run, I don't think that's going to – him and Tariq aren't going to be enough.
Yeah.
So I definitely think we should draft a running back.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what Mike Davis brings to this team. I don't really know what to expect out of him. He was actually very productive in Seattle for the amount of playing time he got behind Rashard Penny, Chris Carson, and that entire crew down there. So it should be interesting to see what happens with him. He's really going to be a mystery, and he can be a really, really, really pleasant surprise, I feel like. And he could also be, what we expect and be okay. But I think, obviously looking at everyone the Bears have met with, we'll get into specific picks right after this. But I think drafting a running back is a pretty obvious choice. I'm also someone supporting a trade for Robbie Gould, as is the rest of Chicago, it seems like at this point. But we'll get into that in another video. I spoke about that earlier. But I actually do believe that the Bears are going to trade a fifth, maybe a sixth, maybe a seventh round pick for Robbie Gould if the 49ers are willing to be not try to stiff us on that trade. So if we can pull that off, obviously I would expect us to only have a third, a fourth, and either a fifth, sixth, or seventh, one of those gone. But I think with a third and the fourth, I think you're definitely drafting a running back. And I think with the fourth, we go with a safety. I think Clinton Dix and Eddie Jackson. I think HaHa's play is going to elevate after this year. He's going to ask for a lot more next season. And I think re-signing Eddie Jackson's obviously more valuable than HaHa Clinton-Dix. Unless HaHa Clinton-Dix has like the season of his life, I still think it's more valuable to re-sign Jackson. So I would assume HaHa Clinton-Dix is gone next year, being completely honest with you. So looking at 2019, I think it's the Bears' championship window, and I think a young running back, some young legs could really help that out. So now let's get right into it. Parth, I'm going to start with you. With the 87th overall pick in the 2019 NFL Draft, the Chicago Bears are selecting who?
Devin Singletary.
Okay.
This is someone who's been highly underrated. I looked at some of his college stats. I can pull it up right now, but I know they're.
Yeah, he was. He was at Florida Atlantic, which isn't. I wouldn't say the greatest school for football, but he had probably the best stats out of any of these guys. I think for sure.
Yeah.
Tons of rushing yards, like over 2,000 rushing yards. I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's not that good of a. I wouldn't say he's not that good, but he wasn't as productive in pass catching because he was just a straight runner.
That's the thing with college running backs, though. I feel like you're mostly just ground and pound. You're not doing as much passing as the league.
But the one thing I love about this man is that he's shifty. He's pretty much the type of running back that Matt Nagy would love to have on his team. Mm-hmm. Especially because I know that Nagy wants to run multiple running back sets and just not like have one focal point running back.
Yeah,
that's one thing that we have to keep in mind. Nagy doesn't like to have one just starting running back. He likes to like use different packages. Like last year, we saw Missile against the Lions, who actually had 2 touchdowns.
Yeah.
Instead of like Cohen or Jordan Howard. So, like pretty much drafting a Bears running back in fantasy is just not a good idea. I just pointed that out. But in draft perspective, I do like Singletary to fall to us, and I think he's going to be the choice here.
Yeah. I know who Jaylen wants to go with, so I'm actually going to go with someone different. I'm going to go with Darrell Henderson. Out of Memphis, obviously a good friend of Anthony Miller's. He's been there for a while. I think he's incredible. I like Darrell Henderson a lot. I think personally I would choose Miles Sanders over Darrell Henderson. Jaylen will probably talk about Sanders, I assume, after this. But I like Darrell Henderson a lot, what he brings to the table. 5'9", 200 pounds. He's got insane athletic ability. I think he can run people over. He can juke you out. He's got really good IQ and awareness, and his burst, his acceleration is off the charts. Pro comparison, NFL Scout on Instagram compares him to Jerick McKinnon, someone who can be effective out of the backfield as well as a pass catcher. So Darrell Henderson's someone I like a lot, and I think some people could say he's similar to Howard, but I think he would be a lot more successful, as Parth said, in that committee of running backs. With Mike Davis, with Tariq Cohen, with maybe we spruced in a little bit of Ryan Null in 2019. I think he'd work well in a committee of running backs, and I think he could be a little bit more of a factor on the field than Jordan Howard. He does get a lot of Howard comparisons, though. Jaylen, I assume you got Sanders?
Most definitely. I have had a man crush, or not man crush, a draft crush on Miles Sanders for a very long time, ever since we traded Jordan Howard. I was looking at some of his tape. Now, I'm not saying he's Saquon, but the way he was explosive in that offense, he definitely reminds me of Saquon. Now, like I said, I don't think he had the talent of Saquon, but they literally run the same. Like I was like, this is crazy. But he's definitely explosive. He can jump. He can catch out the backfield. He can jump over you, and this is probably one of my favorite prospects in this whole draft.
Yeah.
I don't think he's gonna fall to the 3rd round, but if he does, guys, Pace needs to jump on it.
Yeah, I think Pace could even make a jump on Josh Jacobs if he really wants to. We don't have much draft capital, but we've got players, and I hate to say it, but we've got players that we're going to need to look at cutting them next year if we want to re-sign guys like Mitch, like Tariq Cohen, like Eddie Jackson. And by that, I mean we're going to have to look at players' contracts like Danny Trevathan. We're going to have to look at players' contracts like Kyle Long. So just looking forward, I think we do have some players that we could possibly think about trading. And you can never really rule it out with Ryan Pace trading up. He's a draft wizard. He really does do his work later in the rounds, and he's done that throughout history. So I wouldn't be surprised if he moved up. I wouldn't be surprised if he stayed where he was. He's not going to trade back, obviously, because we're already in the 3rd round. But him trading back up into, I wouldn't expect the 1st, but maybe the 2nd round, that wouldn't surprise me at all. So that's pretty much going to do it for us, guys. We're going to get reactions to all of the Bears picks, wherever those may fall in the draft, after the draft is over. So you'll see that video out sometime this weekend. You'll also see a video out about our thoughts on Robbie Gould and his situation. Hopefully we can get that video out before he's traded, because some are saying he could be traded by tomorrow before the draft. Yeah, but that'll pretty much do it for this, guys. You can follow all of our fan pages down in the description, where we'll be covering the draft basically as tightly as possible. You can find all of our fan pages down in the description, so be sure to follow us on Instagram. You can follow the podcast on Twitter and Instagram at BearDown. And that'll pretty much do it for this one, guys. We'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.
Peace.